The first time I saw Vincent Salvatore, he was washing blood off his hands in my father's kitchen sink. I'd come home early from the charity gala, the hem of my beaded chantilly dress torn, my T-strap heels dangling from my fingers, and there he stood, tall, dark, impossibly still in the way predators are still before they strike. The tap water ran pink between his scarred knuckles, while my father, Captain Daniel Riley, of the Chicago Police Department, sat at our small kitchen table with his service revolver pointed at the floor. Not at the gangster, at the floor. That's when I knew everything I'd believed about my father was a lie. Daddy? The word came out small, girlish. I was 23 years old, but in that moment, I was 6 again, discovering there was no monster under the bed, because the real monster sat across from you at breakfast, wearing a badge. Vincent Salvatore turned slowly. His eyes found mine in the darkness of our modest brownstone, eyes the color of good whiskey, the kind you couldn't get legally anymore, the kind men killed for. A thin scar cut through his left eyebrow, disappearing into his hairline. His suit was impeccable, midnight blue, probably cost more than my father made in 6 months. But there was a tear in the shoulder, a dark stain spreading. He was bleeding. Miss Riley, his voice was gravel and silk, Chicago streets and Italian mountains. Your father and I were just concluding our business. My father's face had gone the color of ash. Catherine, go to your room. I didn't move, couldn't move. The speakeasy smoke still clung to my dress, the memory of Charleston music and bootleg gin still humming in my veins. I'd spent the evening dodging the wandering hands of aldermen's sons, smiling until my face ached, pretending I didn't know my father took bribes to look the other way, while men like Vincent Salvatore flooded our city with illegal hooch and violence. Pretending had gotten me through 23 years. I was tired of pretending. How much does he pay you? I asked my father. My voice didn't shake. I was proud of that. Catherine, how much am I worth? In bootleg whiskey and hush money? I stepped into the kitchen, my bare feet silent on the cold linoleum. Does mother know? Or does she pretend too? Vincent Salvatore smiled. It was the most dangerous thing I'd ever seen. Your daughter has spirit, Captain. He dried his hands on one of Mother's good kitchen towels, staining the white cotton red. I like spirit. Don't. My father's gun hand trembled. Don't even look at her. But Vincent was looking at me, really looking, not the way the aldermen's sons looked, like I was a pretty ornament to hang on their arm at political dinners. He looked at me the way a jeweler examines a diamond, calculating facets and flaws, determining worth. I should have been frightened. I should have run. Instead, I lifted my chin and stared back. Your father tells me you attend the university, Vincent said, as casually as if we were at a garden party. Literature and languages, French, Italian, some German. I fail to see how my education concerns you, Mr. Salvatore. Vincent, he shrugged out of his jacket, wincing slightly. The white shirt beneath was soaked through on his left side, and it concerns me because I have a proposition. No. My father stood so quickly, his chair scraped against the floor. Absolutely not. Sit down, Captain. Vincent didn't raise his voice, didn't need to. The command was absolute. My father, who'd faced down bank robbers and Union strikers, who'd survived the war in France, sat down like a schoolboy called to task. The power in that moment was intoxicating. Vincent turned his attention back to me. I own an establishment on West Madison, the Scarlet Rose. You may have heard of it. Every flapper in Chicago had heard of the Scarlet Rose. It was the most exclusive speakeasy in the city. Art Deco opulence, live jazz every night, and enough illegal liquor to float a battleship. The kind of place you needed connections to enter, where gangsters and politicians mingled in the velvet shadows, where the wrong word could get you killed. I've heard rumors, I said carefully. I need someone educated, refined. His eyes never left mine. Someone who can move between my world and theirs without raising suspicion. My business associates are expanding operations, international connections. I require someone who can translate correspondence, handle delicate negotiations. Your father has convinced me that you're uniquely qualified. The betrayal hit me like a slap. You're selling me to him? I'm saving your life. My father's voice cracked. You think Salvatore came here for a social call? His rival, Frankie Malone, knows you're my daughter. He's already made threats. If Vincent doesn't take you under his protection. Protection, I laughed, bitter as the dregs of bootleg gin. Is that what we're calling it? Vincent stepped closer. I could smell him now. Cigar smoke and something expensive. Bergamot and cedar. Blood. I don't force women, Miss Riley. You'll work for me, nothing more. You'll live at the Scarlet Rose, in the upstairs apartments where my most trusted employees reside. You'll be paid handsomely. You'll be safe. And if I refuse, the smile disappeared. Frankie Malone doesn't make idle threats. He killed his last rival's family slowly. The wife first, then the children, then finally the man himself. Made him watch every second of it. The kitchen was so quiet, I could hear the tap still dripping. Pink water forming a puddle in the white porcelain sink. How long, I asked, until the situation with Malone is resolved? Could be weeks, could be months. And my parents will receive additional protection. Men I trust. Vincent pulled an envelope from his inner pocket, tossed it on the table. Even from across the room, I could see the bills inside. More money than my father made in a year, along with compensation for their cooperation. Blood money, that's what it was. But as I looked at my father's drawn face, his trembling hands, I realized he'd been taking blood money for years. The modest brownstone we could barely afford, my university tuition, mother's new winter coat, all of it paid for by men like Vincent Salvatore. We'd been living on corpses all along. I just hadn't known which ones. I need to pack, I said. Catherine, please. My father reached for me. I stepped back. Don't pretend you're protecting me. You're protecting yourself. I turned to Vincent. One condition, you keep them safe, both of them, not just from Frankie Malone, from everything. His whiskey-colored eyes flickered with something I couldn't name. Respect, maybe, or recognition, like looking in a mirror and seeing someone just as trapped as yourself. You have my word. And what's a gangster's word worth, Mr. Salvatore? Everything, Miss Riley. He extended his hand. Scarred knuckles, blood still caught under his nails. Or nothing at all. I suppose you'll have to trust me to find out. I thought about running, thought about screaming, fighting, calling the real police, the ones who weren't on Vincent Salvatore's payroll. Instead, I placed my hand in his. His grip was warm, strong, completely engulfing. For just a moment, his thumb traced the inside of my wrist, finding my racing pulse. The corner of his mouth lifted. Good girl. Those two words shouldn't have sent heat pooling in my belly, shouldn't have made my breath catch, but they did. And from the knowing look in Vincent Salvatore's eyes, he knew exactly what he was doing to me. Part 2. The Scarlet Rose occupied a converted warehouse in a part of Chicago where cops didn't patrol and questions weren't asked. By the time Vincent's Lincoln pulled up to the unmarked entrance, dawn was threatening the eastern sky, turning it the color of a healing bruise. I'd packed quickly, a single trunk with practical dresses, my few pieces of jewelry, books I couldn't leave behind. My mother had watched from her bedroom doorway, silent tears tracking through her face powder. She didn't try to stop me. Maybe she was relieved. One less mouth to feed on dirty money. This way. Vincent placed his hand on the small of my back, guiding me toward a steel door. Even through my coat, I could feel the heat of his palm. His wound, I'd watched him bind it himself, with methodical efficiency in the back of the car, didn't seem to slow him at all. The door opened before we reached it. A massive man in a doorman's uniform stepped aside, his eyes carefully avoiding mine. Boss, miss, everything quiet, Tommy. Like a church, bosh. Inside, the world transformed. Red velvet draped every surface. Crystal chandeliers caught the last of the night, scattering light like diamonds. The main floor was a sea of small, round tables arranged before a stage where a baby grand piano sat silent. A full bar stretched along one wall, mirrors behind it, reflecting bottles of every illegal spirit imaginable. The air smelled of expensive perfume, cigar smoke, and something else. Money, maybe. The scent of excess. But it was empty now. The magic had fled with the last customer, leaving only the bones of decadence behind. Your apartments are upstairs, Vincent said, already moving toward a curved staircase. You'll have a bedroom, private bath, sitting room. The other girls live on the same floor. Singers, dancers, cigarette girls. They'll help you settle in. The other girls. I followed him up the stairs, my torn dress whispering against the carpet. How many women do you keep here, Mr. Salvatore? He stopped so suddenly, I nearly collided with his back. When he turned, we were eye level on the stairs, his face inches from mine. I keep no one, Miss Riley. Every woman who works for me does so willingly and is paid better than anywhere else in the city. They're free to leave anytime they choose. His voice had gone dangerously soft. I'm a bootlegger, not a slaver. Learn the difference. I should have apologized. Should have stepped back from the barely leashed violence in his eyes. Instead, I leaned closer. Then why can't I leave anytime I choose? For a long moment, he didn't answer, just studied my face like I was a code he was trying to crack. Then he smiled, that dangerous smile that made my stomach flip. Because you don't want to, Catherine. He said my name for the first time, Italian vowels turning it into music. You were suffocating in that little brownstone, pretending to be a good girl, while your blood sang for something more. I saw it the moment you walked into that kitchen. You're not afraid of me. You're afraid of how much you want this. You're wrong, but my voice betrayed me, coming out breathless. Am I? He reached up, slowly, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, he traced the line of my jaw with one scarred finger. Your pulse is racing. Your pupils are dilated. You haven't looked at the exit once since we arrived. And right now, even though you should be terrified, you're leaning toward me instead of away. He was right. God help me. He was right. I jerked back, breaking the moment. Show me to my room. Vincent's smile widened. As you wish. The apartment was more luxurious than anywhere I'd ever lived. Cream silk wallpaper, a 4-poster bed with an emerald velvet canopy, French doors leading to a small balcony overlooking the city, a vanity with 3 mirrors and enough cosmetics to paint an army, a wardrobe already full of dresses, gorgeous, expensive things in jewel tones and midnight black. Where did these come from? I ran my hand over a crimson silk gown with intricate beadwork. I have a girl who handles wardrobe for my employees. She's good at guessing sizes. Vincent leaned against the doorframe, watching me. If anything doesn't fit, she'll alter it. You planned this before tonight. I plan everything, Catherine. It's why I'm still alive. The use of my first name again sent shivers down my spine. I needed to establish boundaries quickly before I forgot why this was dangerous. Miss Riley, I corrected. We're not friends, Mr. Salvatore? No. His eyes darkened. We're not. The weight of that hung between us, the acknowledgement that we were something else entirely, something without a name yet, something that would probably destroy us both. Your work begins tomorrow, he continued. All business now. I'll introduce you to my accountant, Leo Castellano. He'll show you the books, the correspondence that needs translating. Most of my European contacts write in Italian or French, some German. You'll handle all of it. And if I find something illegal? Vincent laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face, making him look younger. Catherine, it's all illegal. You're working for a bootlegger. Everything we do breaks the law. Then what's to stop me from going to the real police? The ones not on your payroll? The laughter died. He pushed off the door frame, crossed the room in 3 long strides. Before I could retreat, he had me backed against the vanity, his hands braced on either side of me, caging me in. Nothing, he said softly. Nothing at all. Except that you know what happens to your parents if you do. Except that you're curious about me, about this life. Except that some part of you, the part you've been smothering since you were old enough to know better, wants to see what you're capable of when no one's watching. His face was so close I could count his eyelashes, see the small scar at the corner of his mouth. You're wrong about me, I whispered. Then prove it. He didn't move. Run, scream, call for help. I won't stop you. But we both knew I wouldn't, couldn't. Because he'd seen the truth, I'd spent 23 years hiding from everyone, including myself. I was my father's daughter, and corruption, it seemed, ran in the blood. Get out, I said. I'm tired. Vincent studied me for another heartbeat, then stepped back. There's a lock on the door. Use it. And Catherine? He paused at the threshold. Welcome to the Scarlet Rose. Try not to get yourself killed. Then he was gone, and I was alone in a silk-wrapped cage, wondering which would destroy me first, the gangster who owned this world, or my own treacherous desire to be owned by him. Part 3. I didn't sleep. How could I? Every sound in the building seemed magnified. Footsteps in the hallway, voices murmuring behind closed doors, the distant wail of a police siren that made my stomach clench with guilt and relief in equal measure. By the time pale sunlight filtered through the French doors, I'd examined every inch of my new prison. The wardrobe held 15 dresses, all my size, all expensive. The vanity drawer contained cosmetics, hairpins, a pearl-handled brush. Under the bed, nothing. Behind the wallpaper, solid wall. The balcony doors were unlocked, but it was a 20-foot drop to the alley below. Not a prison then. A gilded cage where the bars were made of money and protection and my own dark curiosity. A knock at the door made me jump. "Miss Riley? It's Marie. Mr. Salvatore sent me to help you dress." I opened the door to find a petite woman in her 30s, dark hair pulled into a sleek chignon, wearing a practical day dress and a knowing smile. "First night's always the hardest," she said, sweeping into the room with the confidence of someone who belonged. "You didn't sleep, did you? None of us do. Come, let me draw you a bath. You'll feel more human after." "I don't need—" "Yes, you do. Trust me, honey. You're about to meet Leo Castellano, Vincent's accountant. If you meet him looking like death warmed over, he'll eat you alive." She was already in the bathroom, running water into a clawfoot tub. "Leo's brilliant with numbers, but he doesn't trust easy, especially not cops' daughters." So they all knew. "Does everyone here know who my father is?" Marie looked up, her eyes kind. "Vincent's inner circle knows. The rest think you're just another university girl who needed work. Best to keep it that way." She poured bath salts into the water. The scent of lavender and rose filled the air. "For what it's worth, I think you're brave, coming here alone. Most girls have family or friends pushing them. You just walked into hell with your eyes open." "I didn't have a choice." "We always have a choice, honey." Marie tested the water, nodded in satisfaction. "Sometimes all the choices are just different shades of terrible, but they're still choices." She moved toward the door. "I'll lay out a dress while you bathe. Something professional. Leo respects competence." Left alone, I sank into the hot water and let myself feel everything I'd been holding back: fear, anger, shame, and underneath it all, that terrible, treacherous excitement, the feeling of being alive in a way I never had been before. Leo Castellano's office was a study in organized chaos. Ledgers stacked on every surface, correspondence in neat piles, an adding machine clicking away on the desk. The man himself was small, wiry, with wire-rimmed spectacles and ink-stained fingers. He looked up when I entered, his expression skeptical. "So you're the cop's daughter? So you're the criminal accountant?" His eyebrows rose. Then he laughed, a sharp bark of sound. "She's got spine, Vincent. I'll give her that." I turned to find Vincent lounging against the door frame, dressed in a fresh suit, the only evidence of last night's wound, a slight stiffness in his movements. In the daylight streaming through the office window, he looked different, younger. The dangerous edge softened into something almost approachable. Almost. "Leo, be nice. Catherine's going to translate all that correspondence you've been complaining about." "French?" Leo asked me. "Oui, et italien, et allemand." His expression shifted to grudging approval. "Your accent's good. University of Chicago?" "Yes. Liberal arts education. Probably thinks business is beneath her." But he was already pulling out a stack of letters. "These are from our supplier in Paris. Fashion designer by day, smuggler by night. Very poetic in his correspondence. Translate them type up the translations. I need to know if he's increasing prices or if something's gone wrong with the shipment. I took the letters, scanning the elegant French script. He's increasing prices by 30%. Says the gendarmes have been sniffing around his operation and he needs to bribe more officials. Leo blinked. You just read that? It's the second paragraph. See? I pointed. He uses the word insurance, but it's code for bribes. The number is written out in words instead of numerals. That's the percentage increase. Silence. Then Leo looked at Vincent. I like her. She can stay. How generous of you, Vincent said dryly. Catherine, you'll work here with Leo from 9 until 5. Take an hour for lunch. Marie will show you the staff dining room. Evenings, the club opens at 8. You don't have to attend, but you're welcome to. It helps to understand the business you're supporting. Supporting. The word tasted bitter. You mean laundering money for... I mean keeping men employed during a depression that has half the country starving, Vincent said quietly. I mean protecting neighborhoods the cops abandoned years ago. I mean giving girls like Marie a safe place to work where they don't get pawed by customers or shorted on wages. But yes, Catherine, it's all illegal. If that bothers your conscience too much, there's the door. He was giving me an out. Again, I should have taken it. Instead, I sat down at the small desk Leo indicated and started translating French correspondence for a bootlegger who made my skin burn and my blood sing. The next 2 weeks passed in a strange rhythm. Days in Leo's office, translating letters from suppliers across Europe, learning the coded language of criminal enterprise, the fashion designer in Paris, the wine merchant in Marseille, the watchmaker in Berlin who shipped illegal firearms in clock casings. All of it fascinating, all of it damning. Leo warmed to me gradually, testing my skills with increasingly complex documents. By the second week, he was trusting me with ledgers, teaching me how they kept 2 sets of books, one for the cops, one for reality. You're good at this, he said one afternoon, watching me balance accounts. You've got the mind for it. Should I be proud or ashamed? Yes. The evenings were harder. The Scarlet Rose transformed at night, jazz musicians taking the stage, cigarette smoke hazing the air, beautiful people drinking and dancing like the world wasn't collapsing outside. I watched from the upstairs balcony sometimes, mesmerized by the spectacle. And always, Vincent was at the center of it, holding court at his private table, men seeking his favor, women seeking his attention. He was gracious with both, but distant, untouchable, except when he looked up and found me watching. Then his eyes would lock on mine across the crowded room, and the distance collapsed into something electric and impossible. I learned to look away first. On the 15th day, everything changed. I was working late, finishing a particularly complex translation from German, a munitions dealer in Munich, who wrote in technical jargon that made my head ache. Leo had gone home hours ago. The club was in full swing below, jazz drifting up through the floorboards. You're still here. I didn't jump this time. I learned to recognize Vincent's footsteps, the particular way he moved, silent but present, like a storm you felt before it arrived. Almost finished, I said, not looking up. You've been avoiding me. I've been working. You've been hiding. He crossed the office, footsteps sure on the wooden floor. Why? I set down my pen, finally meeting his eyes. Because I don't trust myself around you. The honesty surprised us both. Vincent went very still. And what do you think you'll do, Catherine? Stab me? Seduce me? Turn me in? His voice was soft, curious. What about me is so dangerous that you hide away in Leo's office until you're certain I'm occupied? All of it. I stood, suddenly needing the small advantage of height, even though he still towered over me. You make me want things I shouldn't want, feel things I have no business feeling. My father is a cop, Vincent. A corrupt cop, yes, but still, I was raised to believe people like you are the enemy. And now I don't know what I believe anymore. The confession cost me. You're a criminal. You break the law every day. You've probably killed people. I have. The casual admission stole my breath. And I should be horrified, should report you, stop you, something. I laughed, a jagged sound. Instead, I translate your correspondence and balance your books and watch you every night like you're something beautiful instead of dangerous. Vincent moved closer. I didn't retreat. You want to know what I see when I look at you? He reached up slowly and pulled a pin from my hair. The careful chignon I'd learned to twist began to unravel. I see someone who's been playing a role her whole life. Good daughter, good student, good girl. But underneath, another pin, more hair tumbling down. Underneath, you're made of the same stuff I am. Ambition, hunger, the willingness to do what needs to be done. Consequences be damned. You don't know me. Don't I? The last pin came free. My hair fell in dark waves past my shoulders. Vincent wound one curl around his finger, his knuckles brushing my cheek. You haven't called the police, haven't tried to escape. You could have, 12 times. Instead, you're here, after midnight, working on my business, learning my world. His thumb traced my lower lip, wanting me. I should have denied it, should have slapped him, should have run. Instead, I kissed him, or he kissed me. I was never sure who moved first, only that suddenly his mouth was on mine, and nothing had ever felt more right or more wrong. He tasted like whiskey and cigars and something darker, something dangerous. His hands fisted in my hair, angling my head to deepen the kiss, and I melted into him like I'd been waiting for this my entire life. Maybe I had been. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. This is a mistake, I whispered against his mouth. Undoubtedly, I'm the cop's daughter. I know. You're a gangster. Yes, we can't. He kissed me again, slower this time, thorough. When he broke away, his eyes were molten gold. Tell me to stop, Catherine. Tell me you don't want this, and I walk away. You keep working for Leo. Keep living here, but I won't touch you again. His hands framed my face, forcing me to meet his gaze. But if you want this, want me, then you have to be sure. Because once you're mine, I don't let go. Not for your father, not for the law, not for God himself. You're either all in or you walk away now. It was the choice I'd been avoiding for 2 weeks, maybe for 23 years. Safety or truth, pretense or desire. The life I was supposed to want or the one that made my blood sing. I'm not going to be your mistress, I said. I'm not going to be kept and hidden, and I don't want a mistress. His voice was rough with want. I want a partner, someone who understands this world, someone who can stand beside me instead of behind me. He kissed my forehead, gentle despite the tension in his frame. I want you, Catherine Riley, all of you, the sharp tongue and the sharper mind, and the courage that brought you here in the first place. My father will be safer with you by my side than anywhere else. I protect what's mine. The other gangsters will learn quickly that you're untouchable. The law has never given a damn about people like us. He pulled back, his hands falling away. But you have to choose. I won't make you. I thought about my mother, silent in her doorway, my father with his trembling hands and dirty money, the brownstone where I'd suffocated on good intentions and careful lies. I thought about the past 2 weeks, the thrill of decoding correspondence, the satisfaction of balancing accounts, the dangerous intoxication of Vincent's world. I thought about who I was supposed to be and who I might actually be if I stopped pretending. Kiss me again, I said. This time, I was sure who moved first. Part 4. Word spread through the Scarlet Rose, faster than fire, through dry timber. By the next evening, everyone knew. The boss had claimed the cop's daughter. The balance of power had shifted. Not everyone was happy about it. You need to be careful. Marie cornered me in my room as I dressed for the evening. Vincent had insisted I join him downstairs, visible at his side, establishing territory, he'd called it, declaring protection. Frankie Malone's girl, Dolores, she had her eye on Vincent, thought she could use him to move up in the world. She's not going to take this well. I can handle jealous women. I fastened a string of pearls, a gift from Vincent, delivered that afternoon by Tommy the doorman, around my throat. The red silk dress I wore was the most daring thing I'd ever put on, backless with a low draped neckline, hugging every curve. It's not her jealousy I'm worried about. It's Frankie's. He'll see this as an insult. You're a cop's daughter, siding with Vincent instead of remaining neutral. Marie's face was grave. He'll retaliate. That's how this works. Vincent said I'd be protected, and you will be, but protection only goes so far when pride is involved. These men, they don't think like normal people. Honor, respect, territory, it all matters more than life itself. She gripped my shoulders, forcing me to meet her eyes. I like you, Catherine. So I'm telling you this once. If things get bad, if shooting starts, or the cops raid us, you drop to the floor and you stay down. Don't try to help. Don't try to run. Just survive. Understand? I nodded, my mouth suddenly dry. Marie kissed my cheek. Good. Now go be the most beautiful woman in that room and make them all remember who you belong to. The Scarlet Rose was packed. Friday nights always were, but tonight felt different. Charged, dangerous. Eyes followed me as I descended the stairs, whispers trailing in my wake. Vincent waited at the bottom, devastating in a black suit with a crimson pocket square that matched my dress. His eyes traveled over me, slowly, possessively, before he offered his arm. You're breathtaking, he murmured. You're causing a scandal. Good. He guided me through the crowd toward his private table, positioned to see the entire room. Let them talk. Let them know. Leo was already there, nursing a whiskey. He raised his glass to me. Congratulations on your terrible life choices. I laughed despite my nerves. I learned from the best. Damned right you did. The evening passed in a blur of jazz and champagne, musicians rotating on stage, a trumpet player who could make his instrument weep A singer with a voice like smoke and honey. A pianist whose fingers flew over the keys like he was possessed. Vincent kept me close, his hand on my waist, my back, my thigh beneath the table, marking territory, claiming me in front of everyone. It should have felt degrading. Instead, it felt like power. Men approached our table with deference, seeking Vincent's favor. Business deals discussed in careful code. Territory disputes arbitrated. Bribes negotiated. I watched it all, learning the language of this underworld, filing away names and faces and debts owed. "You're a natural at this," Vincent said in my ear during a lull, reading people, knowing who to trust. I grew up watching my father play both sides. I learned early how to spot a liar. And am I a liar, Catherine? I turned to face him, close enough to kiss. No, you're honest about your dishonesty. It's almost refreshing. He laughed, warm and genuine. God, you're perfect. Then the doors burst open. 6 men strode in, moving with the kind of precision that comes from military training or criminal experience. Leading them was a man I recognized from photographs in my father's case files, Frankie Malone, shorter than Vincent, stockier, with pale eyes and a mean mouth. The music died. Conversation stuttered to silence. Vincent's hand moved to my waist, pulling me closer. "Stay beside me," he murmured. Then, louder, "Frankie, this is unexpected." "Is it?" Malone's smile was all teeth, no warmth. "Heard you had a new girl." Wanted to pay my respects. His eyes found me, crawling over my body like insects. "Riley's daughter." "That's bold, Salvatore. Real bold, keeping the cop's little girl as a pet." Vincent's grip on my waist tightened, but his voice remained casual. "Catherine is under my protection, which means she's under the protection of everyone who works for me. You'll treat her with respect." "Respect," Malone laughed. "That's rich. Her old man's been taking money from both of us for years, playing us against each other. And now she's warming your bed." He spat on the floor. "She's probably a spy, feeding information to her daddy so he can shake us down for more." The accusation sent ice through my veins, not because it was true, but because others might believe it. "My father and I aren't on speaking terms," I said clearly. "Not since I learned what he really was." "That's so?" Malone moved closer. His men fanned out, hands near their waistbands, where guns surely waited. "Then prove it." "How?" "Tell me where he keeps his evidence files, the ones he uses for blackmail." Malone's smile widened. "Do that, and maybe I'll believe you've really switched sides." The room held its breath. I felt Vincent tense beside me, ready to move. Felt Leo shift in his seat. Felt the weight of every eye in the Scarlet Rose. "No," I said. Malone's expression darkened. "No, I won't betray my father, even if he betrayed me first. I won't give you leverage to hurt him." I lifted my chin. "But I won't help him hurt Vincent either. I chose my side when I walked through those doors. If you can't accept that, then we have nothing more to discuss." For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Malone threw back his head and laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You've got stones, girl. I'll give you that." He turned to Vincent. "She's gonna get you killed, you know. That high-minded nobility garbage doesn't survive in our world." "Then it's lucky you're not part of my world anymore," Vincent said softly. "Get out, Frankie, before I forget the rules of hospitality." "The rules." Malone's laughter died. There aren't any rules anymore, Salvatore. Not since you started this war by muscling in on my territory. You think claiming the cop's daughter makes you untouchable? He pointed at me. She's a walking target now. And when I finally put a bullet in her pretty head, everyone will know. Vincent Salvatore can't protect what's his. He turned and walked out, his men following. The moment the door closed, the room exploded into motion. Vincent was on his feet, barking orders. Tommy, double the guards. Leo, get word to our people on the street. I want to know where Malone goes, who he talks to, what he's planning. His eyes found mine. You're moving to my rooms. Tonight, you're not safe alone anymore. Vincent -- not negotiable. He pulled me close, his mouth finding my ear. He just declared war, Catherine. And you're the prize he wants to take from me. So you do exactly what I say when I say it, or you'll get us both killed. Understand? I nodded, my heart hammering. Good. He kissed me then, hard and possessive, in front of everyone, claiming me again, daring Malone to try to take what was his. Now go with Marie. Pack your things. I have calls to make. As Marie hurried me upstairs, I heard Vincent's voice behind me, cold as winter. Get me Connor O'Brien on the phone. Tell him I need guns, a lot of guns. War was coming to the Scarlet Rose, and I had just painted a target on both our backs. Part 5. Vincent's rooms occupied the entire third floor, a sprawling apartment of dark wood paneling, leather furniture, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It smelled like him, cigar smoke and expensive cologne, whiskey and danger. The bedrooms through there. He gestured toward a door while simultaneously cleaning a pistol at his desk. Movements efficient and practiced. Bathrooms en suite. There's a second gun in the nightstand drawer. It's loaded. Safety's on. Learn where it is. I don't know how to shoot. Then I'll teach you tomorrow. He didn't look up from his work. For tonight, just know it's there. I stood uncertainly in the center of the room, suddenly aware that I was about to spend the night in a gangster's bedroom, that everything had shifted irrevocably, that there was no going back to the girl I'd been 3 weeks ago. Catherine, Vincent set down the gun, finally looking at me. I meant what I said downstairs. You'll be safe here, but I'm not expecting. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. We're sharing space for protection, not for anything else, not until you're ready. The consideration in his voice undid me. This man who killed without remorse, who ran an empire of vice, was giving me space, treating me with a respect I'd rarely found in supposedly civilized men. What if I'm ready now? The words came out before I could stop them. Vincent went very still. Catherine, I'm not naive. I know what this is, what we are. I moved toward him, each step deliberate. You said I had to choose. Well, I'm choosing. I'm here. I want to be here. He stood slowly, like any sudden movement might spook me. You're afraid. Adrenaline and fear. They make people do things they regret later. I'm terrified, I agreed, but not of you, not of this. I reached him, placed my palm flat on his chest, his heart hammered beneath the expensive fabric. I'm afraid of going back to that half-life, pretending, suffocating. I'd rather die tomorrow, having lived tonight, than survive another 50 years of slow death. You have no idea what you're saying. Then show me. I looked up at him through my lashes. Show me what I've chosen. For a long moment, Vincent just stared at me. Then he caught my wrist, pressing a kiss to my palm. My wrist, the inside of my elbow. "You're going to destroy me," he murmured against my skin. "Good," I breathed. "We'll destroy each other." What happened next was a blur of hands and mouths and whispered confessions. Vincent kissing me like I was salvation and damnation combined. My back against the wall, his body pinning me there, clothes discarded piece by piece. His jacket, my dress, his shirt, my stockings, the feeling of skin on skin, of being touched with reverence and desperation. "Tell me to stop," he whispered against my collarbone. "Don't you dare." He lifted me effortlessly, carrying me toward the bedroom. The last thing I saw was the Chicago skyline through the windows, the city glittering like scattered diamonds, before Vincent laid me on black silk sheets and proceeded to ruin me for any other man. Fade to black. I woke to gunfire, not the distant pop of firecrackers or backfiring cars, the sharp, unmistakable crack of pistols being fired close by. Multiple weapons, multiple shooters. Vincent was already moving, pulling on trousers, grabbing guns from various hiding spots around the room. "Stay here," he commanded. "Under the bed. Now." "What's happening?" Frankie Malone's making his move, earlier than I expected. He tossed me a pistol. "Safety's here. Point and pull the trigger. Don't hesitate." Then he was gone, racing toward the sound of gunfire. I should have stayed hidden, should have crawled under the bed like he ordered. Instead, I pulled on my dress, grabbed the gun, and followed him. The club was chaos. Tables overturned, bottles shattered, guests screaming and stampeding toward the exits. Vincent's men were exchanging fire with Malone's from opposite sides of the room. I spotted Leo behind the bar, reloading a shotgun with grim efficiency. Marie and the other girls were herding customers toward the back entrance, and there was Vincent standing exposed in the center of it all, calmly returning fire like he was at a shooting range instead of in a war zone. A man I didn't recognize, Malone's, by his clothes, appeared at the top of the stairs, gun raised, aimed directly at Vincent's back. I didn't think, didn't aim carefully, or remember any proper technique. I just raised the pistol and fired. The recoil nearly broke my wrist. The sound was deafening, but my bullet found its mark, the man's shoulder, spinning him around, his own shot going wild into the ceiling. Vincent whirled, saw me, saw the fallen gunman. His expression cycled through fury, fear, and something else, pride, maybe, or recognition. Then he was moving, closing the distance between us, pulling me behind an overturned table as bullets chewed up the floor where I'd been standing. "I told you to stay upstairs," he roared. "You're welcome for saving your life." He kissed me hard and fast. "You're insane. I learned from you." More gunfire. The front windows exploded inward. Shouts from outside. Cops or more gangsters. Impossible to tell. "We need to leave," Leo shouted from somewhere nearby. "Both sides will be here in minutes. If the cops catch us in this, they'll shut us down for good." Vincent nodded once. "Everyone out the back. Leave the guns. Leave everything. Move." His men obeyed without question, abandoning their positions and streaming toward the rear exit. Vincent grabbed my hand, pulling me with him, Leo covering our retreat with his shotgun. We burst into the alley behind the Scarlet Rose into a cold rain. Cars were already running, engines idling, Vincent's men piling in. He shoved me toward the nearest Lincoln. Get in. Go with Tommy. He'll take you somewhere safe. What? No dash dash. Not negotiable, Catherine. I need to handle this. If Malone finds you, then we face him together. I grabbed his lapels, forcing him to look at me. You said I was your partner. You said I belonged at your side. So here I am. I'm not running. Behind us, police sirens wailed closer. Shouts echoed from inside the building. Vincent's jaw clenched. Then he cursed in Italian and dragged me into the car with him. Fine, but you do exactly what I say. Understand? I barely had time to nod before the car was moving, Tommy behind the wheel, tires squealing on wet pavement. Where are we going? I asked. Vincent stared out the window at the city we were leaving behind, his profile hard as marble. To end this, once and for all. Epilogue. Frankie Malone's warehouse was on the south side, in the part of Chicago where the law didn't reach and questions weren't asked. Vincent brought 8 men with him, his most trusted, including Leo, who carried his shotgun like an extension of his body. I was not allowed to come inside. You've proven you're brave, Vincent said, cupping my face in his hands. We were parked in the shadows across from the warehouse, rain drumming on the car roof. But I won't let you watch what I'm about to do. You understand? I understood. Whatever happened in that warehouse would be the kind of violence I'd only read about in police reports, the kind my father had spent years pretending didn't happen, even as he took money from the men who perpetrated it. Come back to me, I whispered. He kissed me once, thoroughly, always. Then he was gone, melting into the darkness with his men, moving with lethal purpose. I waited in the car with Tommy, counting my heartbeats, watching the warehouse for any sign of movement. Minutes stretched like hours. Then, gunfire, muted by the warehouse walls, but unmistakable, shouting, more shots, a scream cut short, silence. It seemed to last forever. When Vincent finally emerged, he was alone, walking slowly, deliberately, his white shirt stained dark in places I didn't want to examine. But he was walking. He was alive. He slid into the car beside me, and I didn't ask questions. Didn't ask about the blood or what happened to Frankie Malone, or whether we'd just started something that could never be finished. I just held him while Tommy drove us through the rain-soaked city toward an uncertain future. 3 days later, the newspapers reported that Frankie Malone had left Chicago for business reasons. His operations were absorbed by various competitors. The Scarlet Rose reopened under new management, a respected businessman with no criminal ties, or at least none that could be proven. Vincent Salvatore seemed to disappear from public life entirely, but I knew better. I knew he was planning the next move, the next expansion, building an empire that would make his current operations look like child's play. And I knew because I was helping him do it, translating correspondence with international suppliers, building connections with criminals across Europe, learning the business of vice and violence. My father came to see me once at the small apartment Vincent had secured under a false name. He looked older, more worn, the guilt of years of corruption finally catching up to him. Are you happy? He asked. It was such a strange question. Was I happy living in the shadows, loving a gangster, facilitating crimes that would send me to prison if discovered? Happy knowing every day could be my last. That Vincent's enemies were my enemies now. That I'd never be able to return to my old life. I thought about Vincent's hands in my hair, his mouth on mine, the way he looked at me like I was the most magnificent thing he'd ever seen, the way I felt when I walked into the Scarlet Rose, powerful, dangerous, alive. Yes, I said simply, I'm happy. My father left without another word. I never saw him again. Vincent found me on the small balcony of our new apartment, watching the sun set over Chicago. The city sprawled before us like a jeweled empire, full of danger and promise and possibility. Penny for your thoughts, he murmured, wrapping his arms around me from behind. I was thinking about choices, how one decision can change everything. Regrets? None. I leaned back against his chest. You said once that I was made of the same stuff as you. Ambition and hunger, and the willingness to do what needs to be done. I remember. You were right. I turned in his arms to face him. I spent 23 years pretending to be something I wasn't. But this is real. This is who I actually am. Vincent studied my face in the dying light, his expression unreadable. Then he pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside was a ring, not an engagement ring, nothing so conventional. This was a signet ring in white gold, bearing a symbol I recognized from his correspondence, his family crest, the mark of the Salvatore Empire. In my world, he said quietly, this means you're not just mine. It means you're part of the family, part of the business, an equal partner in everything I do. He took my hand, his thumb tracing my ring finger. It also makes you a target, more than you already are. Every enemy I have will know that hurting you hurts me. You'll never be fully safe again. I was never safe to begin with, I reminded him. Not from the moment I walked into my father's kitchen and saw you washing blood off your hands. True. He slipped the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly. So what do you say, Catherine Riley? Want to help me burn this city to the ground and rebuild it in our image? I looked at the ring catching the last rays of sunlight, at the city below us, full of secrets and sin, at the man who'd seen past every pretense to the darkness inside me and loved me for it anyway. I thought you'd never ask. He kissed me then, hard and claiming, as the sun set on my old life and rose on something new, something dangerous, something magnificent. Behind us, the phone began to ring. Business, always business, in this life we'd chosen. But Vincent didn't answer it, not yet. For just a moment longer, we stood on that balcony, two people who'd found each other in the darkness and decided to make it their kingdom. The city glittered below us, like scattered diamonds, full of promise and peril. And I'd never felt more alive.